Hello and welcome to season 3, episode 35 of Quaint and Cozy KC. I am your host, Lainey Renee, and I'm here to talk to you all about the quaint, cozy, and sometimes even cosmopolitan side of the Kansas City area. So I have been busy the past couple of weeks. I have been running the streets, you guys. So much going on. So I want to talk to you. I try to go to museums. If I can go at least once a week or at the very least twice a month, I try to go to museums, either ones I haven't been to before, or I try to go to the ones where I haven't been to in a very long time. And with gas prices and everything going on, what I've been doing is I've kind of been piggybacking, errands on each other. And I had an errand in Johnson County this past week. And so I was like, you know what? Let me go and check out the Johnson County Museum. So I did that, and I'll talk about that in my next episode. But that also, a few weeks ago, I was in Lenexa for one of my niece's volleyball tournaments. And I'm like, you know what? I am in Lenexa. I am not that far away. There's got to be a museum around here. So I went through my little list and I'm like, you know what? There is a museum. And also, there's a park that I've been trying to check out that I haven't been to in a long time. Like the last time I've been to, I was at this park. I kind of like drove by it and I was gonna stop and then it started raining. So I was like, I'm not gonna do that. But when I lived in Johnson County, they would have like the Christmas lights there. So I'd hang out there for that. And so I'm like, you know what? It's time to go. And of course, the day that I picked to go was kind of chilly outside and kind of windy, but I had a coat on and it was all good. And I made it work. I had my gloves and hat on, so it was all good. I made it work. I'm going to start off the show with this episode with the Sarco Par Park Trails. And I think it's the Sarco Par Trails Park. It's something. I want to make sure I'm getting this right because I never say the name of this park correctly. So it is the Sarco Park. That is what it's called. I'm sorry, the Sarco Par Trails Park. Okay, there we go. I got it. I've got it correct this time. Okay. So I stopped by there, and it's a cute little park. It's got a lot, there's a lot of walking trails. Now, because it was so windy and cold, I didn't really like walk through the park like I would, on a regular day. If it had been about maybe 20 degrees warmer, I probably would have, gone ahead and taken a nice little a walk around it. But it was kind of cold and windy. Yet, and still, there were people out there walking their dogs. They were out there bundled up. There are people on bikes. I mean, this is like, just a Saturday for them. But I was like, oh man, I felt like, you know what? It's just a little too cold and windy for me. But it's got a great view. This is a really cool park. There's a lot of parking. It's got a great view. Like it kind of, you can kind of walk down. You're walking by this duck pond, and it even has like a little like ramp up, so you can kind of get a nice view. You can kind of stand. And again, you don't want to stand out there. You want to kind of be against the rail because it's a busy traffic area. And I can only imagine what it's like when the weather's a little bit warmer. So, but I was able to get a couple pictures. If you follow me on social media, you will see the pictures of my TikTok page. I've got them up, Quaint and Cozy KC. They're not quite up on my YouTube page because, I'm a little behind on YouTube. I do it on purpose. I stagger because I've got the most followers on TikTok. So I stagger, I start everything on TikTok, then I float it onto YouTube, and then I might put a couple things on my Instagram. I do have an Instagram there, but it doesn't pop the way my TikTok and then like my YouTube pops. So I'm like, I'll put a couple things on there. But mainly a lot of my stuff is on TikTok. Like the fast stuff is on TikTok. So I was able to take some really cool pictures and just kind of like feel the essence. I love the vibe of that place. I want to go back next time. They've got benches and they've got like outside art installations. So I always appreciate that. But I want to maybe go like in the early summer, or if I go in the summer really early in the morning before it gets too hot and I fall out. But something else I really appreciate about this park is that it's also the home to the Legler Barn Museum. I love it when parks have more than one thing going on. And there's also like a train depot over there as well. I didn't really go, like their trains were out there. I didn't know if I could go up and go inside. It was so cold. I did not want to really spend a lot of time outside. So that might be something for the next time that I go by, but there are trains outside of the Legler Barn Museum because there's like this little depot thing. It's really kind of cool. Um, but it was just a little too cold, as I said, to kind of like really try to explore that. But I got some pretty good pictures that are on my Quaint and Cozy KC TikTok page. So when I walked inside the Legler Barn Museum, I wasn't sure what to expect. A lot of these smaller museums, they have, they've got like the history of the local, like of Lenexa. They've got the history. They've got a little bit. They'll throw in a little bit of county history in there. They'll throw in a little bit of state history in there. Like I love it. I kind of refer to them as those community kind of museums. So I walked in, and the person that was at the desk, she was really lovely, and we talked a little bit, and she was kind of giving me like the layout of the museum. And so you kind of walk in there. There was an old, like, card catalog. I was like, oh my gosh, like my little Gen X heart was just like, oh my gosh, a card catalog. Well, okay, technically, I think it wasn't really, it's more like a mail slots. But when I first walked in, it looked like a card catalog to me. I was like, oh my gosh, a card catalog. But no, it's just mail slots. But again, if you're of a certain age, if you're a Gen Xer, boomer, elder millennial, you can kind of remember everything kind of being in these like little boxes and stuff like that. And so that was kind of like the first thing that I saw were the post office boxes. Um, and then you kind of walk in, and it's a barn. It's the barn, and it's got like stone walls. And so there's a lot of exhibits. There's like local exhibits of like, modern, like the modern technology, putting that in quotes, technology from about 20 years ago. Um, and then also there's like a little area for kind of like more for kids and stuff. And then you got the upstairs. Now the upstairs looks more like a traditional museum. Like it's more of like you see the older quilts. There's like, quilts on the wall. You see like kind of the recreations of the rooms, like a hat rack, and then there's something that's behind glass, like it's got like one of those old, it looks like a weaving loom, and there's trunks. I mean, I liked it. It's a nice community museum. So this is the kind of place I would go if I, because there's a lot of places to eat in Lenexa, but and it is open limited hours. That's something else to kind of keep in mind. When you go and visit this particular museum, they are not open every day. Some museums are open like, at least 5 days a week or even 4 days a week, but this museum is not open 4 days a week. Now, again, I'm saying this to you in March, so they might have different hours in the summertime. So just kind of, keep that in mind. There might be some different hours in the summertime, but right now I believe it's only open a couple of days a week. It's open Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And like I said, that might change, as summertime and more people are out, but who knows? Just wanted to kind of give you that heads up there. But this is a nice place for like it's kind of like a two and like a two for one kind of thing. Like you go and you look at the museum and you kind of walk through and you kind of like look at all the history and all of that. And so if you're walking with like maybe it's you and like some other adults, I would say it's probably going to take you about, if you're really looking at things, okay? Now, I don't know, some people just walk around and do whatever. If you're really looking at things, you could spend about 45 minutes there easily. But if you're someone who just kind of like does the little initial, like, oh, you walk really fast, you kind of check some things out, take a couple pictures and go, you could probably do it in about 25 minutes. But I like to linger a little bit. So I spent about 30 to 40 minutes in the museum. I'm really glad that I did that. It was really, really cozy in there. Now, if you've got little kids, it might be a little bit different because you know how it is when, kids want to touch everything. There are some things out, but I don't know if they necessarily had things out where like there were a lot of exhibits for kids. That's something, again, you want to kind of check out for yourself because these museums are always changing. They're always adding things in, taking things away. So that's something to kind of think about. But I loved it. Super cute. A great way to kind of, because, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., you could, go to the museum first and then go hit an 11 a.m. lunch. Or after lunch, after your lunch, you get out of there about 12:30 or so, you could head over on a Saturday to that museum and check out the exhibits, and it's a nice little way to like a nice little afternoon cap for for you, and it's free. So I know for a lot of people are trying to like support local museums with everything going on with travel and all that stuff. And this is a great time to kind of discover the local museums that are near you. Now, also, downtown Lenexa is not too far away, but that downtown Lenexa can be sometimes challenging for parking. So that's one of those things where I always say, if I'm going to downtown Lenexa, I'm bringing some walking shoes. Okay, this is not. I'm not bringing my Spice Girl platform shoes to walk around in. I am bringing my comfortable shoes because I might have to park a little bit of ways before I can kind of get into like downtown. And I think it's kind of like depending on where you park, sometimes you have to walk up a little incline. So again, downtown Lenexa, something to kind of keep in mind. I know that I'm a little off track there because I did not technically visit downtown Lenexa, but this Legler Barn Museum, it's very close. It's not very far away. So again, like a nice little place to like, if you want to do like a little tour of Lenexa, I really hope that with all the chaos going on with traveling and everything like that, that people, no matter where you're listening from it, whether you're listening on the Kansas side or the Missouri side, or where you could be in Iowa, that hopefully you would, go to your local museums, go to your local cute little places and galleries, all that stuff, and support them right now because a lot of times some of them are free or they're very low cost. A lot of them are like $10 and under, to like go and learn about local history and they've got guided tours sometimes. Now this one did not have a guided tour, but I just it's just a nice little way to spend a Saturday. So I am leaving Lenexa and the Sarco Park Trails Park. I'm never gonna get that right, I swear. And I'm also leaving the Legler Bar Museum. So goodbye, Lenexa. Let's talk about the poetry reading that I attended last week. And I went to Basement Books in historic downtown Liberty. Now, I love me some historic downtown Liberty. I love it. I feel like that was one of the places that helps kind of get me accustomed to living in Kansas City, to really accepting that I wasn't going to be able to leave Kansas City, right? When I moved here from the East Coast, I'm like, okay, I'm only here for a couple years, then I'm moving back to the East Coast, or at the very least, maybe I'll hit up Austin or Denver, but I'm out of the Kansas City area, right? This is just for a little bit. And of course, that did not happen. I got priced out of all the places I was looking at. So I really had reached a crossroads and I had to really learn to love Kansas City, not just, that my family's here, whatever, but really love my city and learn about my city. And going to historic downtown Liberty, there was a tea shop that I was kind of like, Anna Marie's Teas. And I remember going there, I'm like, wow, this place is really cute. It reminds me of Newport, Rhode Island. I mean, there's no ocean or anything like that, but it had the same walkability and the old buildings and everything is super charming avenues, all that stuff, the big courthouse. And I was like, I love this place. And of course I was like, oh my gosh, how can I buy a house in historic downtown Liberty? Like I was totally looking to see if I could do that. And I could not. But it's super cute. And there's a college nearby. So it's like this cute little college walkable neighborhood. And so it felt really special to do a poetry reading there. Basement Books has been there for a few years now. I love it. It's one of my favorite places in the Northland, but I do try to support, all of the bookstores in Kansas City whenever I can. But there's something about having a bookstore, being on the square, like, the historic downtown Liberty Square. And I, what, one thing that really surprised me, you guys, how poppin' downtown historic downtown Liberty is. I would not you could not oh wow, you know what? I'm looking just to make sure. And technically it's been open for almost 2 years, Basement Books KC. For some reason I thought they'd open in 2023. That's how time is soup. But okay, to go back to that. Um like it felt like, oh my gosh, I'm going to this poetry reading at a really cool bookstore. And in the meantime, the avenue is popping. Like I had I was getting tailgated and I was just shocked. I'm like, wait a minute, it's like 5:15 on a Saturday. It's technically not like the summertime. Like this is kind of like this is summertime behavior that I expected summertime, or because they have cute little fall displays and cute holiday things. I expect this during the holiday times, not in March before spring's even, officially started, but it was packed. Like every place, like it was hard to find parking. And I love that for that place. And there's like, I think a new cocktail bar that might have just opened. So I love to see it. I love to see everybody like walking around and people going in and out of businesses and all of that stuff. It just made me very, very happy. Also, you know, one of the things I really appreciate about like local poetry readings is that everybody seems to kind of know each other. Like I went to the poetry reading and everyone was pretty familiar with each other. I was not because that was my first time going to that to Basement Books for a poetry reading. So I'm like, man, everybody seems to kind of know each other. So there's like a little poetry scene. So I definitely appreciated that as well. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Okay. Now, speaking of that same poetry reading, I discovered this again. When I say I discovered, I don't mean like, oh man, I'm the first person to have it. I mean, like, I did not know there's a newspaper, and I think maybe they're going strictly online, but it's called The Object. And one of the owners of Basement Books KC, they have it. And this is from like the 2025. This is from spring 2025, but I haven't read it. And again, I just feel like I'm really excited to kind of like dig into this. And they can be found at theobjectkc.com. And it's called The Object, Kansas City's Living Eulogy to the Printed Word. And it's free. And it's got all kinds of it looks like it's got prose in here, and there's poetry. There's even a crossword on the back. There's comics. I love it. As a kid from the 80s and 90s, I love it. And they've got like looks like they've got word finds here as well, a little astrology section. I love this. Now, I don't know how often this comes out. This might be like a once a year labor of love, but they do have a website, and that is again, theobjectkc.com. I'm excited to kind of like, nestle in with this newspaper. I feel like it's been so long since I've actually physically read a newspaper, and I'm really excited to do so. So yeah, they've got a new edition coming out spring 2026. So we are technically in spring 2026. So I guess in the next couple of months, keep looking for it and it'll probably pop up for you. I'm like I've got to make a note for myself to actually remember to kind of go back. So that is technically all I have today. It is a very kind of a short show today, but I've got more stuff. It's so funny. Like I was debating because I went and I checked out Langston, and that is like the KC Opera Company here. I want to make sure I'm getting their name right. KC Lyric Opera. They're doing or Lyric Opera of Kansas City, I should say. They're doing like this community tour of Langston, and it's this and here's the thing. It's his poems. It's the poems of Langston Hughes put to music, but it's different composers for it. And so they are touring around to like the libraries. I love this so much. So they're at the Kansas City Public Libraries. They're going all around, the Kansas City area. So I'm very excited. I was very excited about that. So it's Langston Hughes, A Lyrical Life. Now it is technically, okay, as someone who used to sing opera and whatever, when I think of this is performed in English, so you don't have to worry about that, but they do have subtitles on there because sometimes when people are singing, even if they're singing in English, you might not understand them just because, they're drawing out vowels, they're doing like vocal runs, so you can kind of see what's going on, but also it's kind of a song cycle. So they're singing the poetry and it's not going to sound like, the typical like you when you think of opera, you might think of Italian opera where it's like all like super super light. This is kind of like, drawn out and it's kind of more on like a little bit there's more dissonance in the music and I felt like there's like a lot of minor keys going on, so it's kind of a darker, more thought provoking music like it. So I loved it, and where I was packed when I went in there was a lot of people in there. um and afterwards, they had like a question and answer, kind of like a community question and answer that they had, and they would ask us a question. There's probably like maybe 4 to 6 questions, and so they asked us, and people from the we would like kind of answer like kind of like this is kind of what I think of this, and so I loved it. They had like a guided discussion, and it was super fun. So yes, that is still playing around the city. So check it out. You can do like an internet search for it. Also check out maybe your library's events. I go through MCPL, the Midcontinent public library, and so I go through their stuff, but I know that they're playing this all throughout the city. So good luck. I know a lot of things have I wouldn't say sold out because it's free, but I know a lot of they were snapping up tickets pretty quickly. So you might want to check that out, but I'll be talking about that, a little bit more. Like, I gave you like a little bit of the kind of like an overview of it, but I'll do like a deeper dive of it in the next episode. And yeah, and again, I went to the Johnson County Community, or, I'm sorry, the Johnson County Museum. So in Overland Park, I went there as well. So that's going to be like in the next episode. See, I went to all these really cool places. And so yeah, it's very actually I've been running the streets doing exciting things right now. And then I'm like kind of looking to see if there's anything else I can preview for you guys because I do feel like I've just been like out and about in so many ways. So yes, and I think I do have like I was trying to think where else I plan on going. Um yeah, like I'm like it's like I'm racking my brain. I'll be in Westport, so I'll be doing some things in Westport this upcoming weekend. So maybe I will be able to go because I also visited the Crossroads a little bit. So let me add that to my list, Crossroads and Westport. I want to make sure like I talk about it because I used to hang out at Westport all the time and then the parking situation became kind of like, unbearable for me. I didn't want to have to keep taking Ubers, all that stuff, but I'll go into that in during the next episode of Quaint and Cozy KC. So if you guys have more information, if you guys want more information about me, I'm just like tripping all over my words. If you guys want more information about me, you can go to quaintandcozykc.com. You can find me on um, YouTube, TikTok and Facebook under Quaint and Cozy KC. Thanks so much for the support. My TikTok, I've got like a couple thousand followers. I was like content to have like 1,000 followers. I'm like, woohoo, I have 1,000 followers. But you guys, I think I've got 2,100 followers at this time. So thank you again for all the support. And my YouTube's growing, it's smaller. Like it's weird with YouTube, it's like you might only have 177 subscribers like I do, but some of my shorts that I post up there, I get a lot of like views and everything like that. So, fingers crossed it translates into more subscribers, but I'm just happy to know that 1,200 people want to see. I know again, someone who's like a huge content creator is like 1,200 people, that's nothing. But for me, like, because this is just like a little side hobby for me, it means like a lot to have my little 1,200 my 1,200 views on some of my shorts. So yes. Okay, on that note, I will talk to you soon. Be safe, everyone.